A very interesting Dragon Ball topic that I usually encounter in the internet is the discussion of who is more powerful between Gogeta and Vegito. Some people believe that Gogeta is way more powerful than Vegito because Gogeta have way more impressive feats than Vegito when he was made canon back in Dragon Ball Super's Broly movie. However, that is a wrong way of looking things. Vegito and Gogeta are two characters of the same power level. They are the combination of the two strongest Saiyans who have both trained hard to achieve God level. But while they are the same in power level, that doesn't mean that they are 100% the same. In this Dragon Ball analysis episode, I will explain in detail who is more powerful between Gogeta and Vegito. This video will talk about not only who is more powerful than them, but it will also touch upon the idea of fusion in Dragon Ball. How does fusion works and how powerful fusion really is? Because I see a lot of misconceptions about fusion and this video will also deal with those misconceptions. Discussion how fusion works is inevitable if we truly want to understand who is more powerful between Gogeta and Vegito, because while dance and Potara fusion are both fusion techniques, they have differences that needs to be taken into consideration which will help us factor out who is more powerful between the two fusion characters. Lastly, talking about how powerful fusion is not enough. We also need to understand its drawbacks and its weaknesses, and why it is not used very much in the series, both plot-wise and in story perspective. So let's get into this topic now and talk about who is truly more powerful between Gogeta and Vegito. Powerful is a vague word. It means many things because power comes in different size, shapes, and forms. Power is the culmination of strength, speed, stamina, durability, outputs, etc. So such idea is difficult to address because there are many variables at play that dictates what power is above over another power. There is no straightforward answer without explaining the context of power we are talking about. For example, one may lack in speed but strength compensates. One may be fast and strong but they lack stamina. You may lack in strength but you have tons of money. By the way, money is also a form of power if not the most dangerous power in real life, etc. So examples like that. So you get the idea. But concentrating to the idea of power in determining who is more powerful between Gogeta and Vegito, the most direct answer is that they are equal in power. So basically, no one is more powerful between them because they are the same set of combined powers, which are both Goku and Vegeta. Fusion in Dragon Ball follows the concept of multiplication wherein power level, which comes in the form of amount of ki, is multiplied to create a one massive pool of ki for the newly born fusion entity to use. Example of using ki is powering up, wherein a character accumulates ki inside his body to increase their physical stats and gain advantage in battle. Fusion is A times B. It directly multiplies the power levels of two fighters to create a very powerful entity. It's not just a mere times 50 or times 100, etc. like what regular Super Saiyan transformation provides. It is a direct multiplication of power levels that can instantly bridge huge power gap. So because it can bridge huge power gap, it means that the technique can bridge long years of training and hard work, similar as to how Goten and Trunks managed to use Super Saiyan 3, which took Goku 7 years, when these two kids could not even go Super Saiyan 2 individually. Because fusion is A times B, it means that fusion of Goku times Vegeta will always result in the same output. Thus, Gogeta and Vegito are the same entity born in different methods of fusion, hence equal in power. This equal in power has been also confirmed in the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie Weekly Shonen Jump interview when Dragon Ball Super Broly movie was being promoted, and I quote, "If Vegito is born from the Potara, then fusion gives birth to Gogeta, two equally matched ultimate trump cards." As a disclaimer, I will ignore some old scans regarding Gogeta and Vegito since it is always a must that we always use latest information because things change over time. Latest information always outdates old information unless there's a contradiction that needs verification or analysis that will require justification. But if none, then we always go with the latest. Similarly, we always use the latest version of Goku and Vegeta when power scaling since we always go with their peak levels to assess how strong currently they are, unless stated like Saiyan Arc, Cell Arc, etc. But if none, if no specific period was provided, then we go with the latest as default. It's the same when using latest information. Now, I'm sure that you are not contented with that answer, even though that is already the answer in today's video. So, I will add some little extra details which I believe you should know when identifying who is more powerful than Gogeta and Vegito. Then, I will let you decide who is more powerful between them based on the information that I will offer. To understand Gogeta and Vegito, let us go first with the basics. Fusion is multiplication. This has been confirmed both in the guidebook and in the anime itself through Vados. So while Vados didn't explicitly use the term multiplication, she still confirmed that Potara was more than the sum of two parts. So you can already drop the A plus B. But notice that she used the word tens instead of 10. Tens as in plural. So you cannot use the times 10 because the statement used was tens. Multiplication is the only process in math where you can achieve tens of times result. This multiplication process is what makes fusion an overpowered Dragon Ball technique. That is why it is barely used for plot reasons, and characters like Goku and Vegeta don't use it much because it feels like cheating for them. It hurts their pride as a warrior, unless the opponent is not fighting fairly like an individual character. For example, Super Buu or Merge Zamasu. Goku and Vegeta won't use fusion in their fight because it is a warrior's pride thing. You won't understand that unless you don't have a strong pride on something like maybe you're proud of your drawings or artworks, so you won't rely on AI generated artworks even though it's much easier, etc. For Goku and Vegeta, similarly, being a Saiyan is their pride, and Saiyan and warrior goes hand in hand. Fusion may use the word battle power or power level when multiplying characters' strength, but the truth is, what fusion really multiplies is the amount of ki of the two combined fighters. Remember, ki is what is used by these fighters to increase their physical stats. Stats like speed, attack, durability, etc. The higher their ki, the faster and stronger they can hit. When fusion is used, the amount of ki is multiplied as the end result, creating a one massive pool of ki that the fusion entity could use to increase its battle strength. Powering up is the process of accumulating ki to increase their physical stats, which is needed to perform well in battle. That is why fusion is overpowered because if you have huge amount of ki, then you can use it to do a lot of things related to fighting. More speed, more strength, more durability, more reflexes, etc. It's like having more money. You can do a lot of things and buy a lot of things. For example, Goku took 7 years in the afterlife to cultivate enough ki to reach Super Saiyan 3. But because of fusion, Goten and Trunks' ki were multiplied big enough to allow them to have the necessary amount of ki to access Super Saiyan 3, which Goku took 7 years cultivating. That's like taking steroids instead of doing the natural workout way to bridge genetic differences. Anyway, to help you picture things out, let us use Goku and Vegeta's power levels back in Saiyan Saga and try to compete it to Frieza's 120 million power level in Namek to help you realize how overpowered fusion really is. Goku back in Saiyan Saga has a power level of 8,000. The anime confirmed this using the Scouters. The Scouters are high-tech gadgets that measures the physical strength of a character. Since Ki reflects the physical stats of a character, the increase of Ki reflects the increase of physical stats, which the Scouter was able to read and detect. Therefore, think of power level as the measurement of Ki in a character's body. The higher the Ki, the higher the physical stats. So in reverse, the lower the Ki, the weaker they are. Dragon Ball fighters like Goku are adepts of using Ki. They can manipulate Ki by increasing or lowering it, which basically controls the strength they only want to display. That is why Scouters are useless against them because they can hide their true strength, allowing them to take advantage of the situation and use that opportunity to defeat their opponent. That strategy was effective against the Frieza army, whom relies too much in their Scouters to judge how strong or weak someone is. As for Vegeta, his power level in Saiyan Saga was confirmed to be 18,000. Both Goku and Vegeta individually are no match against Frieza's 120 million power level. Even if they work together, 8,000 plus 18,000 won't even make Frieza sweat. Even Frieza in his wheelchair form was already 530,000. Considering the gap, what do you think can an 8,000 and 18,000 guys can do? Even Nail with a power level of 50,000 could not even scratch Frieza in his weakest form. Thus, even if a Saiyan Saga Goku and Vegeta combines their efforts, they wouldn't stand a chance against Frieza's 120 million strength, much less to his 50%. That will be like Goku being totally outclassed by Frieza in Namek when Frieza became 50% serious, or 60 million, but much worse. Remember, Goku was already 3 million at that time when he confronted Frieza in Namek, but he was still toyed like he was nothing. But, if Goku and Vegeta used fusion, assuming they already know how to use fusion they will be able to outpower Frieza because again, fusion is A times B. Let's look it in 3 perspectives. 1. Potara fusion or direct multiplication. Then number 2, dance fusion, both must be the same power level or amount of Ki. And then 3, fusion, Potara or dance regardless because they are equally powerful. The Potara fusion or the direct multiplication process for character A and B's power level wherein A is weaker and B is stronger. So in this case, that's Goku times Vegeta aka 8,000 times 18,000 which is equal to 144 million. See how overpowered the fusion technique is? 144 million is a huge power leap from 8,000 and 18,000, right? That is why fusion could completely unbalance the scale of power. This was how Vegito managed to toy Super Buu in DragonBallZ despite Super Buu having Ultimate Gohan plus Gotenks plus Piccolo inside of him on top of his own power level because Super Buu only added their power levels on top of him. But Goku and Vegeta literally multiplied their power levels directly, resulting into a fight humiliation. So, based on the results of our scenario, 144 million versus 120 million means that they could outpower Frieza even in his full strength. If we will include the Super Saiyan transformation in our equation, then we will have to multiply 144 million by 50. Since Super Saiyan is a 50 times multiplier and let us just stick there because Super Saiyan 2 is times 100 and then Super Saiyan 3 is times 400. But for the sake of the figures, we stay with times 50. Thus, 144 million times 50, and we will have a fucking result of 7.2 billion. 7.2 billion versus 120 million is a one-sided massacre. Instill in the back of your mind how weak the Goku and Vegeta that we are still using here. And yet we have already reached 7.2 billion in calculation. Fusion times Super Saiyan is very, very, very OP. If a power level of 10,000 is already enough to blow a planet, then just imagine how many 10,000s are there in 7.2 billion. This is why Kefla, the Potara fusion of Kale and Caulifla, would feel like that they could destroy an entire universe because why not? Kale and Caulifla are much, much stronger and powerful than our Saiyan Saga Goku and Vegeta in this scenario, and we are already 7.2 billion in numbers. This is why the series had already dropped the numerical power level system. The numbers are beyond computing. Dragon Ball characters already possess power or energy that numbers could not measure anymore how big it is. Dragon Ball characters had already surpassed the part where they can be measured and they can only now be scaled. Anyway, continuing with the fusion perspective, after Potara fusion, let's use the dance fusion this time. Dance fusion can only be used when two characters are equal level of power. Thus, in our scenario, one must power down in the same level of his partner to make dance fusion work. Since Goku is 8,000 and Vegeta is 18,000 in our scenario, Vegeta must lower down himself to 8,000 to make the dance fusion work. Thus, we will have 8,000 times 8,000 is equals to 64 million. 64 million is only as strong as 50% Frieza in Namek because 120 million divided by 2 is 60 million, right? So if Frieza goes all out and use all of his 120 million strength against them, then they will lose even after the dance fusion. But if we take into consideration that the fusion can go Super Saiyan, then we will multiply 64 million by 50, which will give us 3.2 billion. Someone whose strength is 3.2 billion will completely dominate someone who is only 120 million. I mean, the difference is more than 10 times. That is like you picking a fight with someone in the street that is 10 times bigger or heavier than you. They will completely slam you in the ground, and if you want to experiment it, then feel free to fight someone 10 times stronger than you. Lastly, a scenario wherein the combinees are equally strong and powerful. In this case, we will have to highball Goku to 18,000 for this scenario to make him on par with Vegeta in Saiyan Saga. In this scenario, it doesn't matter if we use Potara or Dance Fusion. A times B result will be the same. Thus, 18,000 times 18,000 will give us 324 million. I don't think we still need Super Saiyan transformation here to clap our 120 million Frieza because the output is already twice of Frieza's 120 million. So we could say that after fusion, they are 2 times stronger than Frieza's full strength already. If we apply 50 times multiplier on top of that, it will be a completely one-sided massacre where humiliation and defeat is an understatement. So, you see, fusion discussion is very tricky to talk about since you have to assess how strong currently the fighters that you're going to use in your hypothetical fusion fight scenario. That is why it is not smart to use feats because DBZ Vegito and DBS Gogeta aren't the same because Goku and Vegeta are already way stronger than in DBZ. Using DBZ scaling against DBS scaling isn't logically right. If Goku and Vegeta used Potara instead of Dance Fusion in the DBS Broly movie, they will still dominate Broly because the numbers say so. So, don't become this simpleton DB fan that thinks Potara is stronger or no, Dance is stronger. No, the fusion method doesn't dictate who is stronger and more powerful. It is the fusion characters that dictates how powerful the fusion entity will become. So, the concept of stronger fusion doesn't exist. However, while the idea of which stronger fusion doesn't exist, the idea of which better fusion do exist. Now that you are aware of how overpowered the fusion technique is, you must also be aware of its weakness and drawbacks. Why? Because there's no such thing as perfect technique. So, while fusion is very powerful, it has a limited battle time. That's one downside. No matter how huge or big the pool of ki that the fusion entity possesses, the multiplied amount of ki of character A and character B will always be compressed or contained to its allowable battle time. For Potara Fusion, the battle time is 1 hour and the Dance Fusion is 30 minutes. Therefore, no matter how big or huge the amount of ki generated by Potara or Dance Fusion, it will always follow the battle time imposed on them. Another downside is that whenever the fusion entity draws out more power or ki from their pool or reserves, for example, they are trying to powering up, their battle time also gets shortened more. So the 1 hour and the 30 minutes are not absolute. The more effort they produce, the quicker their time gets shortened. Why? Because effort requires power and power in Dragon Ball requires the usage of ki. I mean, it's physics 101. The more power or energy you try to use, the faster you will run out of juice, right? So, for example, you can jog for 1 hour straight, but if you run faster or you sprint hard, it will consume all of your stamina or energy in one go, which will make you tired faster. It's the same principle. The use of heavy ki blast is also the same. The stronger the blast, the more it will consume power from their tank. The stronger the attack, the more energy or ki is needed to produce it. Hence, that is why Vegito, back in the Zamazuki arc, gets diffused immediately when they consume all of their 1 hour worth of power when they release their full power final Kamehameha in an attempt to finish Merge Zamasu. Transformation also consumes power because similar with powering up, it stresses the body. Staying in your transformed state is like staying in a powered up state. It consumes stamina because it wears down the fighter. Why? Because you are constantly producing power that is out of your normal state. Hence, it constantly drains out of you. That's like your car staying in nitro mode, which consumes all of your gasoline from your tank, which will eventually make your car stop. It's just the same principle. So, it's energy and stamina relativity. Staying in powered up state or even in transform state is like staying in nitro mode. It basically wears them down, slowly but surely, because power is relative to stamina and energy. That is why DBZ Vegito suddenly diffused back in Dragon Ball Z when all of their power was consumed after staying in Super Saiyan for too long. At that time, they thought fusion was permanent, so they keep wasting energy or power. Alright, now that you are aware of how fusion works, how overpowered it is, and its drawbacks, it is now time to answer the title of this episode. Who is more powerful than Gogeta or Vegito? Because Gogeta and Vegito are just the fusion characters of Goku and Vegeta, then it means that the output power of A times B will always stay the same. That is why they are equally both trump cards as said in the DBS Broly movie, weekly shonen book, interview, or promotion. However, let's go with the differences. Vegito can fight for 1 hour, while Gogeta can only fight for 30 minutes. Therefore, Vegito has 30 minutes more stamina than Gogeta. So, if the context of power that we are talking here is the amount of ki or energy that they possess, then it's basically Vegito over Gogeta. But, here's the twist. Gogeta is a more stable fusion than Vegito. Remember that the dance fusion requires strict harmony between two characters that will perform the fusion technique. It requires equal power level from both characters. This complete synchronization creates a well-balanced scale of power between left and right, causing a much stable fusion. Because of this synchronization and harmonious balance, Gogeta is a more precise adept key control than Vegito. So what's the gist of becoming a more precise adept user of ki? It means less power waste and more accurate use of ki. This results to efficiency, which may save more time than Vegito and having sharper attacks. So while Vegito has more stamina and boasts big power attacks, Vegito is not an energy-friendly fusion, while Gogeta is a more friendly energy user. You can view these differences like a car with different gasoline engines. One car has a bigger tank, that's Vegito, but his engines consume more gas, while Gogeta, the one with the smaller half-size gas tank, consumes less gasoline. The reason why Vegito fusion is unstable is because there's no synchronization when doing Potara. You just wear the earrings and then boom, fusion time. Because of this unstableness, there's a lot of ki wastage and Vegito has a higher chance of getting diffused faster than Gogeta. Especially if Vegito goes for a heavy spam of power attack like what he did against Merge Zamasu. Gogeta on the other hand, since his operating time is lesser by 30 minutes, he needs more accuracy in controlling his power output to compensate the lack of 30 minutes. Failing to address this will result into lesser battle time and defusing much earlier. You can view these differences like a car with different gasoline engines. So think of it like this. If you need big power output, then you go with Vegito. If you need accurate power outputs, then you go with Gogeta. This logic is similar to Naruto and Sakura difference, which I'm pretty sure the one watching this is also aware of the Naruto series. Naruto has a massive pool of chakra. He has Kurama inside of him, and being an Uzumaki gives him a large pool of chakra in him. Thus, he doesn't really need to bother about control because he have big chakra reserves. He just needs to take advantage of that and go with big attacks like Rasen Shuriken, Massive Kagebunshin Technique, Giant Rasengan, etc. On the other hand, Sakura doesn't have a large chakra reserve like Naruto. So she is keener in chakra controlling because she needs to make sure that no chakra will be wasted. This made her more adept in chakra control than Naruto because she needs to be precise and accurate to make sure that no power is wasted at her end. She is like a knife in contrast to Naruto being a cannon. Her superhuman strength in the series becomes the result of her impressive accurate chakra controlling. For this video, think of Naruto as Vegito while Sakura is Gogeta. They are like a cannon and a knife respectively. Both equally dangerous and can kill, but the other one is big and loaded while the other one is thin and sharp. Vegito learning to big-oriented power-based attacks reflects Vegeta. That is why Vegeta is the dominant character of Vegito. And I think that's pretty obvious when you consider that Vegito's name is much closer to Vegeta than Goku or Kakaroto. Notice that Vegeta's attacks are all power-based, from his famous special attacks like Galit Gun, Final Flash, Gamma Burst, etc. Even his nature of fighting is power-oriented, so similar to Vegito who spams big attacks. Gogeta, on the other hand, is more about power control and accuracy. He is the reflection of Goku, who is more adept of using Ki to increase his strength and fighting capabilities. Because remember that Goku is heavily much weaker than Vegeta in base strength. And it is only through Ki that allows Goku to fight on par with Vegeta physically. Goku's fighting style revolves around more on control, such as Kaioken, Ultra Instinct, Spirit Bomb, etc. That is why Gogeta is much closer to Goku than Vegeta. So, who's more powerful? I will leave that to you. Your interpretation of power is subjective and it depends on your perspective of what is more important. Maybe you are someone that leans on speed rather than strength, or maybe the reverse, you believe that strength is much better than speed. Maybe you like long fights because you have great stamina and you think that exhausting the enemy first is the best approach before finishing him. Maybe you just like quick attacks, you believe the faster the fight, the better. Nevertheless, the idea of power depends entirely on your parameter of context. Vegito has advantages over Gogeta, but you could also say the same to Gogeta over Vegito. The way how the advantages are exploited is what will give an edge depending on the scenario where Goku and Vegeta were in. So depending on how you perceive the context of power, you may prefer Vegito over Gogeta or vice versa. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because Vegito and Gogeta are the fusion result of the same characters. Anyway, I hope that answered your curiosity of who is more powerful than Vegito or Gogeta. I know I didn't answer the title of the video entirely, but there's really no direct answer about this. The best I can do is to offer you insights and information, but how you formulate conclusion using those information I gave is entirely up to you. Thank you very much for sticking up with me in today's video. If you like my analysis about Dragon Ball, you may drop your comment or opinion as well, since I enjoy talking with fellow Dragon Ball fans. Exchanging ideas or opinion is what helps me formulate good thoughts and analysis. So if you want to stay updated with my uploads, you may hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that we can talk every time I uploaded a new one. Anyway, thank you very much again and see you next time. Bye for now.